Welcome. I'm State Senator Scott Wilk from the 21st Senate District. I'm happy that you're all here to join the members of the Armenian caucus. This is a historic day, not only because we're going to be later today acknowledging the 104th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide, but we had momentous events happen today in Armenia, where the Prime Minister has stepped down, seceding to the will of the people. That's worth clapping. For those of you who don't know, the California Legislative Caucus is bipartisan, non-political, that encourages California Armenian Americans to advocate and participate in cultural, educational, governmental, and community affairs. Through advocacy, the caucus strives to ensure that California Armenian American voices are heard and given a platform. The caucus serves as a forum for members of the California State Senate and Assembly to identify key issues affecting the Armenian American community and develop and empower the Armenian community throughout California. Today I'm going to do a couple of quick announcements that I'm really proud to have here. First of all, this caucus was originally formed in 2013. The story is that we had a legislative delegation that went to Armenia in September of 2013. And while we were there with Speaker John Perez. And I said, I was really moved and said, hey, I'd love to form the Armenian caucus. And Speaker Perez goes, well, under the rules of the House, it takes three, a C. Achajian, a C. Nazarian, you ain't Wilkian. Fair enough. But wanted to introduce quickly my wife, Vanessa Safoyan Wilk. And my mother-in-law, Alice Bogosian Safoyan. And so there was a deadhide there. I said, deadhide, what do I need to do to become Armenian? And he said, be christened in the Armenian Apostolic Church. So he came back to America, went down to my mother-in-law's church in Rancho Mirage and was christened. Came back and gave the certificate to Speaker Perez, and the rest is history. So the founding members, myself, obviously, Assemblyman Nazarian, and then our dear friend that drove all the way up from San Luis Obispo, Cacho Achajian. So I have all my colleagues here. A couple of them want to talk and a couple of them don't, so I want to acknowledge those that are here just to lend support. We have from the BOE, Fiona Ma. This is on the down low, but she's also running for state treasurer, so keep that in mind. And then my colleague that we represent the same areas in Southern California, Dante Acosta from the State Assembly. And coming up first, like my good friend from Pasadena, to share some thoughts, Senator Anthony Portantino.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for everyone for being here today. This is really wonderful to see young people here, to see folks who so deeply care about, obviously, genocide recognition, but with the events that took place in Yerevan over the last week, to see so much of the conversation being driven by young people, and to see much of the politics in America being driven by young people, it's so appropriate that the caucus recognizes the scholarship winners and those folks who took the time to share their personal stories about the genocide and recognize them today. So it's just awesome to be part of it. And for me as a father, you know, you talk to your children and you want them to learn from you, but also oftentimes you learn from them. And I think around the world we're learning from young people who are pure in their perspective and in their passion, because they want democracy, they want justice, and they want action, and they don't want talk. And I think that's what's exciting for me. As a non-Armenian, you know, talking to residents in my district, I'm proud to represent, I think Laura, myself, and Adam Schiff, we all sort of take pride in representing the largest Armenian community outside of Armenia. And every day I get to learn from friends and neighbors about their personal family stories. And I think, to me, something that sort of struck me was the Greek poet Dinos Christopoulos, who once said, "They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds." And so thinking about the Armenian community in California and the seeds of success, whether it's in art or government like Adrian and Cacho, or education like Armand, or passionate young people going to our schools, he was right. The seeds are growing proudly and strongly, and I'm proud to be part of this ceremony today and the recognition, and thank you very much. And I'll leave you with one last thing. You know, it's high time that Turkey does the right thing and the Azeris leave Artsakh alone. So I have a message for the Turkish government. Turkio arat nera an nera liye.
So to Senator Portantino, even though you may not have it in your blood, you can still be an ABC, Armenian by choice. That's what I am. What was that? Somebody heckling from the crowd? Okay, up next I'd like to invite my partner in crime, founding member of the Armenian Legislative Caucus, and an incredible advocate for the Armenian community, Adrien Nazarian. This is comments.
All right, all right. So we're not doing the introduction now to the honoree.
No. That's at the end. This is just quick comments.
Okay. Well, this is what happens when you do things off the cuff. First and foremost, it's wonderful to see everyone here. It's wonderful to see that the caucus is growing the way it has been. This has never been about just members of the Californian Armenians who have the opportunity to serve in government to be the ones leading the charge on this issue. This is a human rights issue. It always has been. It never should be compromised, whether because of oil interests or geopolitical interests. And so it's wonderful to see that now not only is the caucus growing, but it's ably being represented by individuals who really care about the issue and are strengthening those arguments as time goes on. So I thank all of our colleagues and members who have been joining the caucus and make it all the more stronger with lending their own individual experiences, voices. Thank you all very much. With that, I'd just like to say it's wonderful to see some of our good colleagues here. A former colleague, Cacho Achajan, who was already recognized. One of these days, we're going to have the opportunity to have many of the other colleagues, also former colleagues, join Cacho so that there could be a demonstration of the contribution of Californian Armenians throughout the history of the state's institutional history. With that, I'd love to turn it over to Scott so that we can continue. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to bring up Assemblywoman Laura Friedman, who's going to make some comments and also do the first presentation of our first award winner. She's a freshman, but she's already a leader in this capital. We all had the opportunity to go last fall to Armenia, and she made quite a stir on Facebook because her constituents were very excited that she was there, and she was getting torn apart because they want to go this restaurant, that restaurant. It was, but she tried to fulfill everybody's wishes. But again, tremendous leader. She's not only a member of the Armenian Legislative Caucus, she's also what I call a member of the Southwest Caucus, because there's about 16 of us that fly up every week out of Burbank up to Sacramento, and we typically sit together. And so it's been a pleasure getting to know her. And again, a true leader in the state and a strong advocate for our community, Laura Friedman.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for bringing up that memory, because going to Armenia was an incredible experience, and I was able to deal with the geopolitics and getting calls from the Aussie consulate asking me not to go to Artsakh, but trying to navigate which restaurant we were going to go to when I had constituents lobbying heavily became a real issue. It's really great to see so many people here today, so much energy in this room. Yesterday, the streets of Glendale were filled with thousands of people protesting, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like tomorrow across Los Angeles, and the joy that people are going to be able to express that democracy was served in Armenia this morning, and the people have shown that they have a voice and that their voice has to be respected. And that's why this essay contest is important as well, because Turkey for so long has been able to deny history. They've been able to deny justice to people who were killed and to their families and their descendants. But the reason that I am convinced they're not going to be able to continue in that denial is because the Armenian community has been so incredibly effective and vocal about their history, and they've been able to spread that story all around Los Angeles and all around America. And every year when we do the march, that march has grown, not just by 1,000 people or 2,000 people, but by tens of thousands of people. Not just the Armenian community, but the non-Armenian community is now united in lifting their voices for justice, and that's something that won't be ignored for very much longer. So I'm really proud about this essay contest. I'm really proud that this contest brings that education across the state of California to our students where it matters the most. So this year, high school students all across California were invited to write an essay that asked them to nominate an Armenian American living in our state to the California Hall of Fame. And we had a lot of interest. The first place winner, unfortunately, is not able to be with us. That prize carried a $1,000 prize. The second place winner earned $750, and the third place winner earned $500. And I know that these students are going to use that when they go off to higher education to better themselves, and I'm proud that the caucus is going to have had a role in that, in their success. So for first place, we'd like to recognize Warren Alfonzo, who's a senior at Stockdale High School in Bakersfield. Warren wrote about California Supreme Court Justice Armand Arabian and his rise to prominence in our state's legal system, having come from an immigrant family. Although he can't be with us here today because he's participating in a high school debate competition, we're pleased to award him with the first place prize. Let's give him a round of applause. And with that, I'm going to turn back over to the senator to introduce the second place winner, who is here today.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. You know, it's interesting to me that essay was turned in before the passing of former Supreme Court Justice Arabian, so that's a fitting tribute. So up next, we're going to bring back up Senator Portantino, who's been, again, an incredible advocate, formed I'm not even sure the official title of our select committee on
California Armenian Art Trade Cultural Exchange.
Say that 10 times really fast. But you know, sometimes people set up these select committees just to kind of curry favor and they don't do anything with it. I serve on this committee. It's an incredibly active committee. We had our first hearing a while back and I walked away having learned so much. So with that, we're going to bring up Senator Portantino, and then we'll bring up another special guest after that.
So it's my honor to recognize our second place winner, and I believe he is here, right? Where is he? Right here with your mom, right? This is awesome. Please come on up here. Let's give it up to Daniel Barkev Chajerian. And let me tell you a little bit about Daniel. He's a senior at Fullerton Union High School in Fullerton. He wrote about Gabriel Injachikian, an immigrant from Syria who helped establish the first Armenian day school in North America in 1960. Thank you, Daniel, for being here today, and congratulations on winning this wonderful award. Let's give it up for him who took the time to write. Here is your important scholarship and an Assembly and Senate recognition for commemorating your efforts. And as I said before, this is the future of democracy. This is the future of politics. This is the future of all of our countries. And let's give it up for Daniel for taking the time. Congratulations.
Well, we had a late arrival, very excited about the Speaker Pro Tem Emeritus. He represents Little Armenia down in the Hollywood area and has been a strong advocate for our community. I'd like to welcome Senator Pro Tem Emeritus Kevin DeLeon. That's a mouthful.
Good morning. How are we feeling today? Barev to each and every one of you. I want to say that the will of the American people, the Armenian people, the will of the Armenian people will never be broken, as we saw it this morning with the resignation of the Prime Minister for a whole variety of reasons. Obviously, with the ongoing conflict with Azerbaijan, I am incredibly proud that from afar in California, home of the largest number of Armenians from the diaspora from every part of the world, that again, that the will of the people have, their voices have been heard in Armenia, and I know that there are various opinions on this issue, but nonetheless, I'm very proud of the people of Armenia. I'm very proud. I want to recognize too the unofficial mayor of Little Armenia, that is Baytsar Tomasian, right over here. Baytsar Tomasian. And I'm a very proud member of the Armenian caucus. I want to thank the great leadership that is behind me here today for their incredible contributions to the human condition of all Armenian Americans, not just here in California, in Southern California in particular, but from throughout the world. I stand here with you today to commemorate the 103rd anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. We have done so every single year since I have been part of both the Assembly as well as the Senate and as the leader of the Senate. The state of California stands on the right side of justice. It is home to those who are torn from their homelands, whether you are from the former Soviet Union, whether you're from Syria, Lebanon, or Iran, or elsewhere. Today, California is your home because you're all Californians. The Armenian story is part of the greater California story, and I am proud to represent Little Armenia in my district, where so many Armenians have called it home for many, many decades. Now, I've represented Little Armenia, I think, what are we going on now, 12 years? 12 years. Proud to, when you go down that 101 highway freeway, the famous Hollywood 101 freeway, and it says Little Armenia, next stop, that is us. Making sure that everyone knows that this is where Little Armenia stands. It's not Glendale. Yeah, okay. No. You start in Little Armenia first, then you make a little money, then you go off to Glendale or elsewhere, you know? So, a century has passed since the Armenian genocide, and yet we continue to face the same hatred and intolerance that led to the horrific human rights violation. Today, our sympathy goes to all the survivors of the Armenian genocide and their children and their grandchildren, and especially to the nearly 500,000 people of Armenian descent who are part now of our great state, the state of California. Today, we also acknowledge the accomplishments and dedication of the descendants of the genocide victims who continue to fight for justice and play a vital role in California's advancement. The great state of California will never let their history vanish. And we will not let their demand for justice go unanswered. I will be honored to march tomorrow in the 103rd commemoration of the Armenian genocide. And I had that opportunity to march a few years ago as well and speak when we had 1 million strong folks in Hollywood, in Little Armenia. I think it was Hollywood Boulevard. It was a Sunset Boulevard. We started, yes, you know, an incredible display of solidarity and voices coming together to fight for justice. We will commemorate this tragedy year after year and demand justice for the 1.5 million Armenians who were killed and deported from their homeland to find refuge right here in California and throughout the country. Listen, I have been honored to have a voice on my staff who has educated me, and I have grown as a result. And I have grown in knowledge to have someone like Baytsar Tomasian, and to have folks who are standing behind me, who we walk together side by side with each other, arms locked in solidarity with each other. My good friend Anthony Portantinian, you know, Lisa Friedman, you know, from the State Assembly. She has been a great voice. Of course, my good friend, you know, he has been a wonderful voice, a strong voice, you know, for all of us here, and the chair of our caucus. And thank you for what you've done for our community since the time that we've got to know each other when you were with Paul. You know, I want to thank you very much. To all of my brothers and sisters, again, thank you very much. I want to say Baykar, Venshir, Verch. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you. Do I, where's Scott? Do I give it to over to you?
take over.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And we're going to have Assemblymember Dante Acosta come in and announce the third place winner. So Dante?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, okay, very good. Badev, how are you? Well, you're all wondering why another Mexican is up here speaking to you. I grew up in Granada Hills, so obviously with a few Armenians myself, and my stepfather was Armenian, so that's why they let me in the caucus. So, and then by the time we went to Armenia in Yerevan this last year, we had an amazing time. With our good friends the Wilks and everyone else that attended. I was a Kostian by the time we left, so I'll just take the adopted name, and I'm truly honored to be able to do that, particularly since I grew up hearing the stories of the genocide. My stepfather's mother, fleeing her homeland as a young girl, and never to see, many family members again. And it's a tragic story. And of course, on our way, preparing to leave, and then the media reports that we're going to be traveling to Artsakh and getting the threatening emails and staff calling, do you know that you're going to be arrested if you ever go to, to Turkey or to here or that? I said, well, we'll take our chances, because I'm going to stand with the Armenian people. I'm going to stand with a proud heritage of fighting people that are determined to protect their legacy and their history. And it's truly my honor in that vein to be able to recognize this next awardee. The third place winner is Adelia Justin, a senior at LA County Probation Camp Scott in Santa Clarita in my district. Adelia wrote about her probation officer, Azet Stefanyan, an immigrant from Armenia who came to the U.S. when he was 10 years old. Although Azet grew up in poverty and lost his father at a young age, he was not discouraged from entering a life of public service. Azet has motivated Adelia to graduate college, and although she is not here today, we are delighted to award her with this third place prize to help achieve that goal. Are we going to have him come up? Yeah. Azet, why don't you come up and accept the award for her. And thank you for being such an inspiration, frankly, to all of us, but to Adelia as well. I'll give that to you, and I believe this is the other one. This is the one. This is one from my office. It's pretty blue color here. Oh, that's from Laura. That's from your office, right? Sorry, I lied. It's not from my office. All right. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Come on, get a quick photo. Everybody. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to all of the three contest winners. Thank you, Dante, for your words, and thank you to the Senate Pro Tem Emeritus, who just had to take off because I believe their session is starting. Well, it gives me great honor to recognize an individual now who has had some amazing, notable contributions, not only for the Armenian community in California, but to California. Years ago, when I was a staffer for LA Councilman Paul Krikorian, I would see, having been a staffer for some years, it became a bit frustrating to just see that we were only recognizing the genocide as what it is, focused on one community's loss and constantly sharing the burden of the issue with everyone, and not really taking the opportunity to celebrate what has happened because of the horrific losses, how the community has rebuilt, has become vibrant, has become a contributing part of the world stage, and especially here in California as well. And what specific individuals have done in their careers to advance, regardless of the career path, whether music, whether the arts, whether education, politics, research, and health arenas, anywhere else. And it doesn't have to be just for the Armenian community either. There are many individuals who see the Armenian plight as a human condition as well, which it is, and have taken action for it. So I wanted to continue that tradition in the state legislature, and I do hope that this also continues on after all of us have served our time in both houses. But it's important to annually recognize someone who has accomplished so much in their specific arena. The lessons of the Armenian genocide are a powerful testament to the importance of compassion and education. And as we teach these lessons, we must recognize the crimes against humanity and the need to ensure that history does not repeat itself. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Professor Richard Hovhannisyan, one of the most prominent academics in the field of Armenian studies. A member of the UCLA faculty since the 1960s, he has organized both the undergraduate and graduate programs in Armenian history and served as the Associate Director of UCLA's Center for Near Eastern Studies. Thanks to his work, there are more than 1,000 audio interviews recorded of Armenian genocide survivors, documenting the atrocities they witnessed. He has served as a distinguished professor at various universities across the country and has received numerous honors for his scholarship, civic activities, and advancement of Armenian studies. We are thankful for his commitment to history and for his dedication to teach the powerful lessons from this dark time to future generations. Before I ask Professor Richard Hovhannisyan to join me, I have to make a couple of personal references. First of all, when I was a student at UCLA a little over 20 years ago, I knew I wanted to take his course. But because I had transferred to UCLA, I was kind of in a short time crunch to try to get through all the classes I needed to. In fact, I got a letter from the university saying that you've maxed out on your number of units, so, make space for others. So unfortunately, I never got the chance to take the course, and I knew I was going to regret it one day, and so I'm publicly admitting how much I regret not having had the opportunity to sit in your course, even though I did attend a few of the first classes, just to get a sense. Second, right after I graduated in '96, starting the fall of '96, going into 1997, there was a concerted effort by the Turkish government to pay for an endowment that would establish the Turkish chair in a Turkish studies chair at UCLA. It hadn't been done before. There wasn't a chair that existed. There hadn't been an endowment. And it took the efforts of an individual who was well respected and beloved. And you can imagine the politics in the academic world, and especially with many professors trying to sift through the vital issues that are not only challenging their specific university, but also the area that they teach in. What maneuvering he had to go through in order to be able to ensure that the integrity of public education is not compromised and is not bought. And it was because of his efforts. And it was no easy task. It was a very close vote. Now, what the politics of the close vote were, I'm sure one day we'll read about it in great detail. But it was a very close vote. And the second point I wanted to make was that it's one thing when someone is very actively engaged in the arena that they work in. It's another thing when it's so consuming that it permeates through the entire family. Dr. Hovhannisyan's son was the first foreign minister when the country was established. The independent state of Armenia was established in 1991. So with that, I'm very honored to present a recognition, if you'd like to join us here. We're going to be doing this on the floor of the assembly as well, but I thought it was very fitting for us to first have an opportunity to speak a little bit more and highlight some of the accomplishments of Dr. Hovhannisyan. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Shall I say something
Please,
or not?
please.
I just want to say thank you, Assembly in Nazareth. It's an extraordinary day for me. Our youth has done miracles today, and we have great hope, but it's a special year also because it's the 100th anniversary of our first Armenian Republic, which I was in Yerevan 30 hours ago, to be a part of that and witness this. So our hope is that the youth has opened the direction to a brighter future and a more solid future for our people. We want to thank the legislature for this deep honor. And actually, no one has really pointed out my role in preventing the establishment of a Turkish studies chair at UCLA, not because it was Turkish studies. Ottoman studies is a valid field, but because it was funded by the Turkish government with conditions that the chairholder had to have cordial relations with the Turkish authorities and so forth. So it was a bought situation and not anything directed toward the Turkish people or toward Turkish studies. And I thank you for that acknowledgement. Thank you.
Last but not least, I'm honored to also recognize Fiona Ma, our Board of Equalization member, who represents the northern part of California, to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wasn't really prepared to speak, but just really to stand here with the legislature, the legislative members. It was my honor to serve for 6 years in the Assembly as Majority Whip and Speaker Pro Tem, where we did honor the survivors and recognize the genocide every day. But I do want to just say I'm representing the North. I moved to San Francisco 30 years ago. Haig is here, also representing the North of the state, the Armenians there. But every year and every day, actually, we see the cross on Mount Davidson, which is a reminder of all that perished in the genocide. And for those of you who haven't been to this beautiful 100-foot concrete cross, it is there every day as a symbol and as a memory to the people. So thank you very much for allowing me to just say a couple words. Thanks.
So that concludes our program right now. I just want to take a moment and say thank you to everyone who's here, all the different community organizations that joined us and continue to support our efforts and be our voice within the various communities throughout California. Thank you to the scouts who traveled here from San Jose, to Armenian Assembly of America, to the Armenian National Committee of Western Region, who have always been good strong partners. And please don't forget that there's going to be an early lunch at 11 a.m. And the Senate program starts at noon, and the Assembly program starts at 1. Thank you all, and we'll continue seeing you throughout the day.